Welcome back, everyone, to a new episode of the Money Diaries. I am so excited for today's episode and to have a conversation with someone I feel is very in alignment with Wall Street Girl Next Door. So I am going to go ahead and let her introduce herself. So, Ruchi, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody about yourself?
Okay, it's so exciting to be here. Hi, I'm Ruchi. I say Ruchi like Gucci, Pinniger, and I am the founder and CEO of Watch Her Prosper. Been running this business after 20 years on Wall Street and seeing all of these incredible women have all the money beliefs, all the stories they carry with them. So I saw this need to work with them, not only in the practical, tactical side of their finances, but also around their money mindset and seeing prosperity in a new way.
I love that. And that's something that I'm super passionate about, especially as two women who you previously worked on Wall Street and I'm currently there. So that's something that I want to talk about for 1 second. So, with your career on Wall Street, can you tell us a little bit about some of the things that you see in a male dominated industry that could be struggles for women on how they can take control of their money in an industry that really is very male dominated?
I think in their money, and also for many of you that are entrepreneurs, like the whole thing around being in a masculine society and just like not allowing ourselves to receive and that feminine, because the Wall Street world is just like the go, 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 do, do, control everything. And where we're always chasing the next thing. When you're on that in that world, there's you're never satisfied. There's never enough. And now, when you want to live abundantly, like the key here is feeling abundant, feeling gratitude for all the things that you have. So you start to attract more. And that's how it all comes together, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Gratitude is the key to pure abundance, truly appreciating what you have. One of the things that I always like to say is I like to flirt with desire while being grounded, while embodying gratitude, because once you embody gratitude and you're so appreciative for everything that you have and you can see how abundant your current life is, but then you can flirt with the desires that you want without letting it take away from the gratitude of what you currently have.
I love, love, love that. Now, let me also share what I didn't see when I was on Wall Street. What I didn't honestly realize was all the money stories and the beliefs we do carry with us. Like being on Wall Street, you don't see that side of it. It wasn't until I left when I knew that I needed to do something more that I started to hear all the women have those stories and share. Like, I love what I do in my business, but I'm not great at the numbers. I don't know how to do this. And that's how I recognize there's so much more to money than the practical, tactical, than what meets the eye. So I always talk about prosperity and money. You know, prosperity isn't just about the green stuff, it's about my three pillars, which I love to share and I'd love to talk about too.
Yeah, please do.
Great. So, well being is the first one, spirituality, and healthy relationships with people and with money. And through work I've done with thousands of women globally, I've really started to see the pattern. When we focus on those three areas, that's how we really live in our abundance and live in our prosperity. So, well being, just thinking about it like this, thinking about it more around what brings us joy. What are the things that make us really happy? And prioritizing those. So, I say budget for those, put them on the calendar because later is not in the calendar, y'all.
Mhm.
Okay, so really think about what brings you joy. So I'm here in New York City, like you, Nicole,
Right.
and I love my long strolls in Central Park. I love my massages. So I really prioritize those. I don't wait till I'm going to a resort on vacation to have a massage and to really feel cared for. So I invite all of your amazing listeners to really think about those things and how to prioritize themselves. Then that other piece is that spirituality. So just really thinking about how we are all connected. So I talk about universe, I talk about God. That's what I believe in, whatever others connect with, or higher self. And really thinking about the universe as a mirror, and what we're putting out is what we're getting back. Those that thoughts of lack and scarcity, if you're all day thinking about those types of thoughts, that's what you're calling back. We actually have an average of 60,000 thoughts per day. And as women, 80% are negative. So one of the things that I love to do is share just the awareness of the thought. So I have my RIR method, which is recognize, interrupt, reframe. So it's recognize when you're having those negative thoughts, interrupt them, reframe them with something more positive, more prosperous. So instead of like, I'm not good at the numbers, I don't know how to do this, recognize, reframe to every day I trust myself more and more with money. I'm so abundant. And the biggest thing about the reframe is the feeling in your body. Do you need me to re-record that? Oh, okay. The biggest thing about the reframe is that feeling in your body. What does it feel like in your body to be so abundant, to never be worried about where the next bill is being paid from, where the money's coming from? And it's really that feeling and that embodiment that's going to attract that. And then that third pillar, healthy relationships with people and money, right? So we all hear how, we are the average of the 5 people we spend our time with. So really inviting you all to think about, who are you spending your time with? What are those relationships based off of? Are you gossiping and complaining? Or are you lifting each other up, rising each other up, celebrating each other, even when you're not in the room? I remember way back, I used to have this trio of us that would go to dinner often, and we would literally give each other 10 minutes, go all around. Okay, what are you celebrating? What's happening for you? And we would all just cheer each other on. So, are you doing that with the folks you're spending your time with? And how are their relationships with money? Because the people we hang out with also impact our own relationship with money. And Nicole, I'm not hearing you. Perfect.
I loved everything that you just talked about because that is one of the things that I like to encourage people to do is thinking about wealth from a holistic perspective instead of just identifying wealth as what's in our bank account, because that's what most people, when you say the word wealth, they think of, the dollar bills, they think of the bank account balance. But true wealth is looking at your health, your lifestyle, those relationships, the things that bring you joy. And that's something that I want to talk about for 1 second, because I always find it interesting when I ask people, I'm like, what are the things that bring you joy in life? Sometimes people can have a really hard time answering that question, and they'll think, I don't know, I've never thought about it before. Or, I like to go on vacation with my family. And it's like, of course, those are all the moments that bring us joy. But it's like, let's go a little bit deeper and let's find the things that really light up your soul. And people have to do a bit of soul searching to find those things. And that's why I think that when we talk about money, it's so important to know what those things are, because when you don't know what those things are, you don't know how to direct your money to the things that are actually going to make you happy. And that's the thing, is that when you know and you can direct your money towards those things, then you just start to bring more joy into your life.
100%. And here's the thing, a lot of people I talk to can't figure out, just like you said, what brings them joy or what do they really want. Because as we know, many of us who do this work, we know that we have to have that vision and then the alignment. And that's when the universe kind of comes and stands by us and walks the walk with us. So the biggest thing that I love to share with people is, I want you to take some time to really think about what it is you want, what is in your vision. And if you're having a hard time or you're feeling stuck, what I want to invite you to do is just like block an hour out in your calendar and put some time in there. Grab a candle, grab some tea or coffee, grab a cozy blanket, grab a journal. And I want you to really just close your eyes and ask yourself some questions. Like, think about even just 1 year from now, what does your life look like? Where are you living? Who are you spending your time with? What's happening in your work or in your business? Also, how are you feeling every day? Connect to the feeling. What's happening inside every day? And then start to think about that as the formation of your vision. What I love to do is I love to do a 1 year from now letter. So as if it's already happened. And I lost my mom many years ago. So what I do is I write a letter to her and I say, Dear mom, you won't believe what a year it's been. Here's all the things that have happened. And I tell her all the things that have happened. And then I start to use that letter and that vision as my North Star as I make those decisions, as I think about my well being and the joy. And does everything I'm doing align? When I'm saying yes to things, does it align to that North Star or that vision?
Yeah, absolutely. And alignment is so important because if we don't have alignment, then I always think of it as our money's just scattered going all over the place. But when we know what's in alignment for us and we can direct our money towards those things, that's when life gets to be really fulfilling. And one of the things that I think we don't talk about enough because there's still such a stigma around money is that money can feel really fulfilling and it can feel exciting, and I truly believe, and this is something that I want to ask you about your business, because you're making an impact in your business. And I know that when clients sign up, that you have a whole aspect of your business that gives towards other people. And one of the things that I truly feel so passionate about is money in the hands of the right people, we will change the world. But people are so afraid to admit or to, really own wanting and desiring to have wealth. And so it's giving people that support to let them know that it's safe and it's okay. And that if we put money in the hands of the right people, we can start to make an impact.
That's exactly right. So there's two pieces to that. The first piece is those beliefs we're carrying with us, right?
Hmm.
Because what are the earliest memories that you have with your money? If you remember hearing things like rich people are bad,
Hmm.
or things that align with not having wealth, then you're going to have a block. Like you're definitely going to have that block. I can share with you a story. Like I talked to this incredible woman who shared with me about her financial woes and her worries, and she wasn't bringing enough money into her business. And she went on to share with me how she grew up with a single mom who ran herself ragged. Her mom was never home, and her mom would tell her, you have to work really hard to make money, and that's why I'm never home. And her mom was exhausted and miserable, and she could see that and feel that. And so now here she is, fast forward, she's also a single mom having a similar struggle, and she doesn't want to show up for her son the same way that her mom showed up for her. So what does that look like now? She's not charging enough, she's way undercharging, doing a disservice to herself and her son. And yes, she's spending more time with him, but she's not able to really get food on the table. So what I like to share with people is, if you can understand where those habits are, like we talked about, the awareness is the first step, and now making it safe in your body to feel okay with making more. Making more in that example doesn't have to equate to running yourself ragged and not being present for your son and being miserable. You can make more with ease, and you can find new ways to create revenue streams, for example, in your business or in your work life, in order to do that.
Yeah, and so that's really bringing the divine feminine into money, is that ease and flow and the receptivity. That's the divine feminine. And that's the beauty of really trying to help women with money, is to get into more of that divine feminine flow to where we can break the hustle and we've got to grind and work really hard for our money. Because I know I was stuck in that state for years. And what's funny is when I was in that hustle state, that was actually when I was making the least amount of money I've ever made. And of course, like,
Exactly.
yeah. And even on Wall Street, we're like, you got to work hard, play harder. It's all about that
Mhm.
hustle. And those were not my prosperous years. And it didn't
That's
feel
exactly
good.
right. Yeah, because think about what's the feeling that comes with the hustle and the graspiness and the want? It's lack.
Mhm.
So we said the universe is a mirror. So if your actions and your thoughts are aligned with lack, you're just getting more lack back at
Right.
you. So that's the thing. Feeling abundant, and like you said, that divine feminine and the release, the surrender, the trust that there's always going to be enough. That's how we start to build our own abundance. It is. I say prosperity is an inside job.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit, how did you work on getting to that place with your own money story?
That's interesting. I didn't share a little more about my own money story. I grew up here with an immigrant mom, single mom. Actually, like my parents came over to this country, and my dad died when I was very young. So here's my mom having to care for us on her own, having to rebuild her whole life. She was an educator overseas. She came here and had to start over. She was a bank teller. built herself into an executive. One of the things I remember growing up is seeing all of my classmates, all of my friends in these designer jeans. Back then, it was like I'm aging myself. Back in the 80s, it was the Jordache jeans. Okay, everyone, don't laugh at me.
I remember. Yeah.
Yes. And I just remember thinking, wow, all of these people look so happy. They look like they have a perfect life, like they have everything they could want. So I carried that story with me into adulthood, into my Wall Street years. And I remember getting onto Wall Street and thinking, wow, I finally made it. This is what success looks like. And for me at the time, instead of Jordache jeans, it was my Prada bag. I bought myself the Prada bag and I thought everything with that beautiful silver triangle on that black bag, everything that that represented meant happiness. It meant my whole life is going to change. I'm going to have everything I want and I'm going to live that dream life. And that's not what happened at all. In fact, I went into debt and yeah, I had a beautiful bag, but nothing changed. I felt the same. And that's how I knew, like I said, prosperity is an inside job and doesn't matter what's on the outside. You can, by the way, have all those beautiful things if you like them and enjoy them, but they're not what makes you whole.
Right.
And we are all whole. We have everything we need. We are enough as we are. And that's really the start of everything. Self-love, self-trust.
Yeah, yeah. And that just goes to trying to buy those things to fill the internal voids and thinking that the perfect bag, the perfect car, the things that people can see on the outside, it's like, oh, that's going to make me feel a certain way. And then you get the thing and you're like, wait, but it's not making me feel that way and it's not bringing me that feeling. And that's because it was just trying to fill an internal void. And I went through that with my own money story for a really long time, trying to fill those internal voids, getting myself into financial trouble, and it didn't give me that feeling. And then now it's these little things give me those feelings that I was searching for because I'm not in that place trying to fill those voids anymore. And I always like to say I didn't fix my shopping problem with budgeting. I fixed it by going into the void.
Exactly, the inside. So when
Yeah,
you're whole on the inside, all of the other stuff, it can be there, but it makes no difference in how you feel every day.
right.
You may feel better knowing, but it doesn't change how you show up. I mean, I think that's the whole thing is we're wanting women to see that it's not about the number in the bank account. It's
Mhm.
about the feeling of the number. And we have this thing in our society where we're delaying how we want to feel. When this happens, then I'll do that. When I make this much money, then I can do this. When I have that in my bank account, then I can feel secure. Then I can feel safe. So the invitation is for us to feel that way before the thing happens so that we can actually create the thing that we want.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's really important for women, especially. And this is something that I want to ask you. Now, what do you think the difference is between how women relate to their money as opposed to how men relate to their money? And what are some things that we can do to help empower women more with their money?
I think the biggest thing is we don't like to have money conversations. So for women, 61% of us would rather talk about the details of our own death. Yes, dying, not debt, but dying, than talk about money. So what we're doing now, the way we are in our current society is I think we're really starting to open up and have these money conversations, just you and me here together doing that. And having the conversation is really one of the key things to because we talked about having that vision. So without the conversations, you can't have the vision. You need to talk to your partners, your spouse, your financial advisors, your loved ones, whomever it is, yourself, right? About what it is you want. So I think that's one of the biggest things. We didn't grow up necessarily where we were openly talking about money. I have clients who tell me they were shut down talking about money. I have clients who have told me that their father has said to them, "You'll never make it without my money." They carry that with them into their 40s. And it wasn't until they recognized that that's the story they've been carrying with them that, wow, I can do this on my own. Like I have a client who shared that story with me. And once she started to recognize it, she had the best year in business as she ever had. And she met her dream man, who's now her husband. The volume thing again.
So yeah, one of the things that I think is really important is for women to find somebody to have those conversations with, is to find circles where they feel they can start talking about money and to start feeling safe talking about it, because people carry so much shame and they keep money so secretive. It's like so tight. People will talk about anything under the sun besides money. And you can see when you start to ask people questions, I can physically see people have a reaction to, like, why is she asking about money? Why is she talking about money? And people, it's just still, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And giving people a safe space to talk about money, and that it's okay to start talking about these things, and that people realize they're not alone, that we all have a money story and we can share it with other people. Just because I think that it's more empowering for people to realize that we all go through our own struggles with money and go through our phases and our eras. And when we realize that and when we talk about it, it starts to break down a lot of the shame. And I know that women can carry a lot of the shame. And we just haven't been given the place really to start having that power. And that's the shift that's happening right now. And I'm so excited for it. And that we're in this era where we're having the big wealth transfer and more money is being transferred into the hands of women. And women are really starting to take control of their money. And I just love that this is where we're at and that this shift is starting to happen.
That is exactly right. I mean, that what you just said is exactly why I started Watch Her Prosper, to create that safe space, the judgment-free space, the space where women feel held and supported. And that's actually why I think a lot of our clients call me their financial therapist. I always put it in quotes because
Yeah.
I'm not a licensed therapist. But what
Uh-huh.
it says is that they feel like they can be heard and they can be in a place where they can allow their emotions to come out and really start to let go of that judgment.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're giving women that space. So
Yeah.
let's talk about your business a little bit. So how long have you been in business, and when did you make that segue into leaving Wall Street into starting your own business? And what was that like for you?
So I have been in business for 11 years. And what I can tell you is it's a lot different than what I expected. I think when if people were to tell you all of the things that you had to do as a small business, a lot of people probably wouldn't do it. That
Yeah,
is one reason why it's really important to be prepared and to have the right advisors and guides to support you as you start. So for me, when I was on Wall Street, I just knew that I wasn't feeling satisfied. I was feeling really empty inside so many days. So no matter how much I was making, how much I was building my team and climbing that corporate ladder, the days just didn't feel fulfilling. Like I spent many of my days actually doing things that were outside of my regular day jobs, just dealing with our women's network or like helping with events there and mentorship and being a mentee as well in leadership programs. Those were the things that I was noticing were making me feel fulfilled each day. So I think anyone who's thinking about making the jump from corporate to being CEO of your own company is really start to pay attention to the things that really light you up and start to think about what you're really great at. Right. And then also start to think about what do you need to do to replace that corporate paycheck? One of the biggest mistakes that I see women make when they make the jump is they think they just need to replace the actual paycheck. So if you're making $150,000 or $200,000, that does not mean all you need to do is make $200,000 in your business to cover that, because you're not thinking about all the expenses it takes to run the business. So the planning is really key. I actually have a tool. I don't know if it's something I can share with your audience
absolutely.
that could really help them to plan their cash flow. Many women in business focus so much just on the revenue, and that is, like I said, the biggest mistake, because I see women who have seven-figure businesses who have a $500,000 of debt, and at the same time, I see women who have 200,000 or 300,000 of revenue that have everything they could possibly want with very little debt because they're planning. And that's the biggest difference. I talk about planning for prosperity and planning for profit. That's the biggest thing. So when you're thinking about replacing your corporate paycheck, I want you to think about, as I said, the expenses. So if you think about Revenue minus expenses is your profit. Profit is where you start planning. Most business owners, the way they pay themselves, it's called an owner draw. And it's literally simply moving money from your business to your personal account to pay yourself. So that amount, that owner draw, is not in your profit and loss report. It's part of your cash flow, but it's not in your profit and loss report. So you're not seeing it reported in your profit. The other thing is taxes. You're going to owe taxes. What I see is people don't plan for them. They get around to tax time because they're so used to in their W-2 that they get from in their paycheck, the employer withholds taxes. In your business, that's not happening. So we need to be paying quarterly estimated taxes, but also planning for saving towards those taxes. And that's a really important piece. And the other is just really building our emergency fund and our growth fund. You want to grow your business, or maybe there's a cycle where you're a little quieter. Maybe you're a cyclical business and summers are quieter, or vice versa. Or maybe you have some big clients and one drops off. You want to plan for that. So really planning. I have a 3-prong sort of account setup that we do with our clients. It's having one checking account, and then it's having 2 savings accounts, one for taxes and one for growth and emergency. Every time money comes in, we have our clients move a percentage to each of those accounts based on their own particular specifics. So that's key. Planning is key. And as I said, I'll share something at the end, where you can download that cash flow document. It's called a cash flow confidence mini course, and it's complimentary, and you all can start planning for profits.
Yeah, the planning piece is so important because, and just like you were talking about, the income replacement is so much more than actually just replacing your salary. And I know that I've had a lot of conversations with women who have left the corporate world, started their own business. Some have been very successful and some did not plan properly because they thought, oh, if I can make $100,000, then I'll be fine. But you have to think about health insurance and other benefits, taxes. Like you were saying, that is the main thing, that people will have a really prosperous year, but not pay any taxes on it. And then they get a huge tax bill that they've never had to pay before. So that planning piece and people being prepared properly can make all the difference in somebody's success and in their business. And so I think that's really wonderful that you give women and people these tools to set them up for success so that people can do the businesses that they love and share their wisdom with the world in a way that is also helpful for them so that it doesn't create more stress, because when you're in stress, that comes out in your business. If you've got high amounts of debt, that just comes out in how you're relating to your business.
Yeah, it makes it harder to have the abundant mindset that we're saying is so key. So, and when you have, you can certainly get out of it, right? If you make one mistake and you have a good planning tool or someone to help you plan, you can come out of it. But if you don't do it sooner rather than later, it does have this snowball effect where it just becomes harder and harder to get out of it. So, planning ahead of time, those of you that are really thinking about leaving, work through this and really understand what it is you need to make. And then the other thing is, think about what you need to do for your revenue. If you need a certain revenue amount, once you put all the numbers into these calculations, how will you get there? How many clients do you need? At how much per client? And think about how you can charge, not just by the hour, because that's just literally trading time for for money, right? You can't be on vacation and making money. Think about how can you sort of, if you're in a service-based business, how can you productize your offering so that you can essentially charge what the value of what you're providing is and be making a good living. As I said, doing it with ease. You don't have to hustle and bustle. Yes, you have to work for it. You have to ensure that you're marketing yourself and visible and sharing about your work, but it doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I even noticed with myself that I can feel now when I get into that hustle and then I have to bring myself back and I'm like, nope. that's not the vibe anymore. Like that's not what we do. We just have ease and flow. But like you said, I also have to work and do the things that I need to do in order to get there. But it's how I relate to it. And that's the key. That's how you're relating to it. And I think that that is really important for women is to just remind ourselves that we can have that ease and flow and still do the things that we love to do and have the businesses that really light us up. Sometimes I think that people think, oh, that can never happen for me. And so it's just reinforcing that it can and giving women the support that they need to have that type of life.
Exactly. And some of you may be thinking, I want to leave my corporate job, but I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. And I can all tell you, I relate so much because when I left Wall Street, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. In fact, I hired a coach. She was the best coach. She reminded me about the universe and really listening. And she said, think about this time as a gift and really listen to the messages you hear. And that is actually when I started to hear all the messages from all the women that had started the businesses that were giving me the stories. And I said, oh, there's something here to look at because I'm seeing this pattern. And I started actually by helping a friend out. So she was a friend who had been in business, who kind of had the stories. I'm not good at this. She ignored the numbers. She had been in business, I think, over 10 years, and she had never separated her business and personal finances. Her rates had been the same for a long time. She had stacks of mail from the IRS she was scared to open. So I started to meet with her, and we separated her business and personal finances. We put her on QuickBooks, which is what my company uses for our clients. And we really looked at her rates and started to encourage her to raise her rates. We addressed all of her tax mail with her accountant, with her CPA. And then she started to fall in love with her business again. She started to say, wow, I feel like a new woman. I feel so excited about it. I feel like I now have information to help me grow. It made such a difference. And she started telling all of these incredible people about us. And my first non friend client, when I met her and she shared all of her financial woes and worries, I said to her, I can help you. And she got tears in her eyes and she said, I feel like an angel sent you. So really listening, right? Like I knew I wanted to help people and I always thought helping people means going to a nonprofit, but we can make so much impact doing the work that we do. We can change people's lives,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. I started with zero revenue. Honestly, I had no plan. So this isn't always something possible for everyone. We all have different situations. We'll say I was blessed enough that I'm in a two-income home
Mhm.
and we were able to afford that and not everyone can. So this is all about planning for your circumstances. Some of you may be in a two-income home. You may be able to leave your job to start. Some of you may need to plan and you may need to make sure that you have a certain number of months of expenses to give yourself a go. And it's really what your circumstances allow, and also how risk averse are you?
Right.
If you're someone who loves to take risks and you don't mind taking a risk, giving it a try, knowing it may or may not work, that's okay.
Yeah, but at least you go for it.
You go for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
the thing about money is it is so everyone's circumstances are so different. Where people are with their money is so different. So it's so personalized, which is why I think it's so important to have support with your money journey and with business and those stories that that you've brought up that we can carry. All of those are so personal to all of us, and we have to work. That's why all of our journeys, I feel like having somebody there to help guide you through your own journey can make such a big difference in the outcome.
It's so true. Having a partner, having someone to talk through it with.
Yeah.
We all have expertise and just making sure that you're bringing in the people that have what you need. I do the same. I bring in marketing people. I'm not a marketing expert, right? So bring in the people that you really need to help to support you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And so tell me a little bit about when you made that jump, what were the first years like for you? And congratulations, by the way, on 11 years. That is truly an amazing accomplishment. And I that is just something to be very proud of.
Thank you. Yes, I've definitely beaten the odds. I will say
Yeah.
I'm very excited and really proud of myself around that. And I will say, and I shared with you earlier about trading time for dollars. I'm going to share
Mhm.
with you really openly. When I started, I was way undercharging. I wasn't valuing really what I was doing because I felt like, oh, I'm really new at this. So it's okay to charge, like really undercharge. I was one of those people. I was doing the same thing. I was charging hourly. I was undercharging. And I got to a point a couple years in where I was making six figures, but I was totally burnt out. Like I couldn't even think about taking on another client. And that's when I started to have these conversations of, wait, there's a better way to do this. And I started to package what I was doing. So at my company at Watch or Prosper, we provide financial guidance, so kind of like advising, not wealth advising and financial planning, like investments, but providing guidance and business advisory as people are growing. And we do the bookkeeping and we help clients get ready for tax time, plan with their money, work with their CPAs to make sure they're getting all the deductions, kind of an advocate for them. So I paid attention to all the things we were providing and I started to package them almost like I said earlier, you productize it. So it's a retainer. So we work on a retainer now every month. People that want to work with us, we do all of those things and we meet with them on a regular basis based on the package that they invest in. And now on the first of every month, I get paid so that I can pay my team and grow my business. And I can be on the beach at the same time. It's kind of
Yeah.
cool.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
truly. And that's the way that it really should be, that you get to go out, you get to have your business, and you get to have your business run for you while you get to live your life, and you have a team and support. And so there's a couple things that you mentioned that I want to touch on because I know that rates and
Mhm.
charging rates can be very tricky, especially for women, because it can be tied to our worth. And
Yes.
a lot of women undercharge or can be charging too much and aren't able to actually hold it. And so it's finding,
Mhm.
how do you help women navigate what they should be charging with their rates? And if they are undercharging, how do you help them increase feeling safe to increase their rates?
Yes. So, two things. You may notice that I never said charge your worth for
Hmm.
exactly that reason. I keep saying charge the value of what you're providing because
Hmm.
then you can sort of separate that from your own self-worth.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two, I also love to say it's not about the number. Let me say that again. It's not about the number, it's about your nervous system.
Hmm.
You could be quoting someone $10,000
Yep.
or $1,000, whichever one feels good to you, they're going to feel that energy. And so that's really important. So when we're working with our clients to raise their rates, we're really sometimes we have to do it slowly. Someone who's charging a certain way, let's say someone's charging, I'm going to make up a number, $250 an hour, and we're desiring for them to be charging a lot more. It might be, how did it feel to you if we could go here? Like we may start to go step by step and
Hmm.
then they start to build the confidence because they start to hear the yeses still, and then the more they start to hear the yeses, the more they can kind of go up and up. So it is kind of a step by step. And by the way, I've done it the same way, even in our retainer packages over time. The more I value myself, the more worthy I know that I feel, and the more I know the impact that we're making. I've been able to raise the rates of our company. That's how we're able to sustain all the
Yeah.
increased prices.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly, the nervous system is so key when it comes to a business, rates, money, and that deeper inward relationship. It's so tied to our nervous system, and we can want to have a certain number or a certain rate, but our nervous system might not be able to handle it. And so that is something that I think, when we're talking about money, really needs to be a focal point, is how important the nervous system is when it comes to money and running a business.
Yeah, so then let's talk about the nervous system. What do
Hmm.
we need to do, right? What we need to do is get grounded.
Hmm.
So a lot of times there's the obvious things that may, that people can do for grounding, like meditating, deep breaths, taking a walk in nature. Hugging a tree does really work. I know we joke
Yeah.
about it, but I do love to hug a tree. Our feet in grass, dancing,
Yes.
singing. I love that. Like before podcasts, I always have my favorite songs I always put on and I just like jam it out and just feel really excited before I show up typically. So the grounding is really important. The other piece that is so important is the visualization. And
Hmm.
this is something we can all incorporate. And I do this with clients as well as their homework many times. So, visualization, our mind doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. So, when you think about that, there's so many studies with athletes, with musicians, where they measure the brain activity when the thing's actually happening as well as when we're imagining it. So think about a baseball player who's on the base, hits a home run, running the bases, feeling the goosebumps on their arms from the wind as they run, hearing the crowd roaring, and then sliding onto home plate and that excitement. So then when they're doing it or when they're envisioning it and feeling that in their body, same brain activity. So
Hmm.
we can all do the same thing. Anything that you're feeling dysregulated around, anything that you're feeling really anxious about, it's about the visualization. Start to visualize yourself doing that as if you're watching yourself, as if you're in the audience. And then keep doing that and you start to get familiar with it. Your mind gets familiar with it. That's like the way the comfort zone works, right? We want to
Yeah.
stay here, and the visualization allows us to expand our comfort zone because we get more familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. I know the visualization process is so powerful. And it might sound to people like, how does that help? But it's so powerful when you're able to tap into what you truly desire. And that to me is what visualization always brings up is true desires. And when you're able to see it and you're able to feel it, then you're giving it life.
Exactly. And that goes with anything. Like if you're someone who doesn't love speaking on stages, you can do the
Yeah.
same thing, right? Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable in your body that isn't dangerous, but it's just your fear kicking in because your mind wants to keep you the same, right? Because
Yeah.
when you're the same, it feels safe. When you start to try and go out of your comfort zone. So even those of you who are in the corporate world and thinking about starting a business, I bet many of you are just not doing it because you're scared, because your mind doesn't know what it's going to be like and it's too scary. That's why I stayed in the corporate world for so many years because I didn't know. And so the awareness of that is key. So even if you just start to dabble in that side hustle to
Mhm.
get familiar with it, to start to see what it's like, that's a really great way to start and to start to get comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love all of that so much because these are the things that people don't always associate with money and with creating safety is it's just actually creating safety within your nervous system and starting, just like
Mhm.
we were saying, like when you start to visualize it, you bring it to life. And then when you bring it to life, like it starts to feel more real. And then it feels like you're able to grasp it.
That's exactly right. And once your mind it becomes more familiar with it,
Yeah.
then your comfort zone is expanding. I mean, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, and that's why if you think about like probably 2, 3 years ago, even things that you were thinking about and visualizing aren't the things that you're thinking about and visualizing today. And that's why the process is so cool. I know for me, journaling is a really big part of the process because when I go back and I look at the things that I was journaling about a couple years ago, I was like, wow, look at how much has shifted and changed and where I'm at today. And then you can actually see your own progress and the whole process of in the journey and how it all ties together.
I love that. And that progress is something we need to celebrate
Yeah.
because we talked about kind of the society we live in. It's like I reached that goal, on to the next, on to the next. How about we stop, pause, allow our nervous system, our mind to get familiar with the new and
Mhm.
celebrate what we've accomplished. That celebration is aligned with the gratitude and the feeling of abundance. And again, bringing on more. So just be in that and sit in that.
Mhm.
And then, okay, and then maybe on to the next. But don't forget the celebrating in between.
Yes. Yeah, the celebrating the wins is huge because if you don't actually take in those moments and feel them, then it's just like the constant go, go, go. And then it's never ending. That's the thing, is then you're just always searching for that next thing without taking in the moment and without taking in that win and feeling that sense of accomplishment and that joy that of that moment.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I'm just going to ask you, what is something that
Mm.
you would give advice to your 20-year-old self, knowing today, knowing what you know today?
I would tell her it's okay not to know everything. It's okay to be open to the surprises because we're so accustomed to wanting to know the next step and everything in the future. And sometimes the most remarkable things are on the other side of that.
I love that. Truly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what is something that's bringing you joy in your life today?
Speaking. I've been doing so much public speaking here with you, also, with incredible women communities. And, we have something later this week. I know we're going to be at together. So I get lit up being in front of all of these incredible people and changing lives. Literally, it is what fuels me.
I love that. And I can tell. I can tell that you are one of those people that just it comes through in your work and how you talk about it and how passionate you are and just your work for helping women. And honestly, that is so needed. We need more women like you that are helping empower other women and bringing other women up and really helping them chase their dreams. It's just truly so important right now. So I just love that's what you're doing and it's really what lights you up.
Thank you. And I love what you're doing. So thank you for doing this work as well on the same path as me.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm glad that the universe put us on our path together. Truly, it was just a divine connection. So it was meant to be.
Definitely.
So why don't you tell everyone where they can find you, any upcoming events, anything else that people can download? Go ahead and let them know.
Perfect. So of course you can go to my website, watchherprosper.com. While you're there, you can also go to watchherprosper.com/cash flow, and you can download that free complimentary cash flow confidence mini course we talked about earlier. You'll get that cash flow template and some videos to walk you through it. The other thing is I have an upcoming redefining prosperity workshop. So those of you that just want to be on this beautiful 90-minute journey with me, it's like very spiritual and help you get that vision down. I have that coming up on December 3rd. So if you go to redefiningprosperity.com, you can register there. And we're going to actually have a discount code for you. It's going to be, so it's WSGND for Wall Street Girl Next Door. So if you enter in WSGND, we'll give you $100 off of that. I'd love to see you there. And you can follow me on Instagram at Watch Her Prosper and DM me. I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you so much. I'll make sure that all of that are in the show notes so that people can know where to find you, know where to download everything, and have the code for the discount code.
Incredible. So great to be here with all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, I will see you on the next episode.